Welcome to day 2 of the Friends of the Farms 4-day fun drive. On day 1, we made this delicious blueberry thyme fizz with our Highside Distilling gin. Today we're going to make a Plum Negroni with 2 of our spirits, one featuring the gin that we used in day 1, and additionally we're going to be using our second spirit, our Amaro Rosina. And our Rosina is actually a style of Amaro called Aperitivo. And for those of you that are not familiar, Amaro means bitter in Italian, but it's a bitter Italian liqueur, commonly drank as an aperitif or a digestif. This style in particular is called Aperitivo, and it's typically bright red in color, like you see here. Typically very citrus heavy, infused with fresh citrus and herbs. Ours is made with 100% Washington grown apples. We then infuse fresh grapefruit peel, ginger, gentian root, bay leaf, bitter orange, and Cascade hops. So kind of in our theme with all of our spirits, we're blending sort of these traditional spirit styles with elements of the Northwest, like apples and hops. But makes it a really great pairing with our gin. So your classic Negroni recipe is equal parts gin, typically Campari, which is a style of Aperitivo, and sweet vermouth. For this one, we're actually going to be replacing the sweet vermouth with a fresh plum syrup, which is quite tasty. So to make this cocktail, we are going to need our gin, our Amaro Rosina, and a plum syrup, which I've got right here. So the plum syrup, just taking fresh plum juice, and then we're actually going to put that on a stovetop and reduce that till it gets to about a syrupy consistency. And then we're going to fine strain that to remove any of the solids. And then you're left with this very pretty dark purple, delicious syrup. So for this one, we also are going to be stirring this cocktail as opposed to shaking as we did in day 1. So I've got all my ingredients here. This is a pretty simple cocktail. The most difficult part of this cocktail is getting the stirring technique right. So shaking or stirring is lots of debate on when you use either or. Stirred cocktails are typically your spirit-forward cocktails that do not include any citrus. And the idea behind stirring is that you want to chill the drink without diluting it, without breaking off shards of ice, and without introducing too much air. And so the proper stirring technique to make sure you do that, to chill it without introducing too much air and too much water, is to keep the back of the stirring spoon against the glass wall of the mixing glass at all times. So it's kind of a tricky technique. I'd suggest trialing this in an empty glass before you fill it with your spirits. Once you got that technique down, then we're gonna go ahead and add our spirits and our plum syrup to the mixing glass and make this tasty cocktail. So I've got my mixing glass here, or my measuring spoon here. I'm going to start with equal parts of the gin and the Rosina. So we're gonna do 1 ounce of gin. And then we are going to use 1 ounce of the Amaro Rosina. Got that in my mixing glass. And then I'm only gonna use a 1/2 ounce of the plum syrup. This can be pretty sweet, so if you use the full ounce, like a typical Negroni, it might be overly sweet. If you do have a sweet tooth, be my guest and add more. So we'll add a 1/2 ounce of that, and you've got that pretty red color in the mixing glass here. Now I'm gonna add my ice. And so typically with a stirred cocktail like this, you want your ice just to be over the level of liquid in the glass, just like that. So you got a couple cubes that are above the liquid. Insert my spoon in here, and I'm gonna stir for roughly the same time as I shake, somewhere between 5 and 10 seconds, keeping that back of the spoon against the wall of the glass at all times. It's better to go slow and not go too vigorously than to go super fast. But this technique does take some time to figure out. So I can feel the side of my glass. It's definitely getting pretty cold now. I think that is pretty good. Then I'm gonna get out my strainer so I can strain out this ice. Typical Negronis can be served either over ice or neat. I'm gonna serve this one over 1 large cube. So I'm gonna grab that in my rocks glass. 1 large ice cube here. And then just strain this tasty cocktail directly over that large cube. Like so. All right. And the traditional Negroni is served with a orange twist. So I'm gonna take this orange right here, get a nice deep swath of this orange here. Make sure you get plenty of pith in there, just like that. And then to make it super pretty, I'm going to trim up the edges of this orange peel. Nice, clean, crisp edges on all sides. And the key here is you want to make sure you zest this orange peel over the glass. That's one of the most important things about the Negroni, is that hit of orange zest as you first sip that drink. So I'm going to squeeze this orange peel out over the glass like that. You can see that zest coming out over the drink. Now to make it pretty, I'm going to twist this into a nice tight spiral there. And I've actually got some fresh thyme here as well. Make this really fancy. Get this piece of thyme wrapped in the orange there, just like that. And there you have it, the Plum Negroni. Cheers.